To share the word of God for us. 今天有一个很特别的 drama 要给大家看呢。And also we have a special drama before the sermon. 好，我们现在就让这个 drama 来区别。So let us watch the drama first.
扫罗，你真是怎么搞啊？就是你做皇帝了，但是神不喜悦你啊！怎么办呢？以色列啊，神啊，你保守以色列。
撒母耳，我对扫罗好失望，你不要再为扫罗难过了。我派你去为我立另外一个王，他就住在耶西家里。
有人听到。哦，耶西，神今天差我来这里，就是要从你的儿子当中选择一个做以色列王啊！
感谢神啊，实在太好了！
恭喜你了！你的儿子呢？叫他们过来。哦，这个很强壮啊，高大威猛，但是神说不是他，还有其他吗？这个也是高大威猛啊，但是神说也不是他。这些都是你的儿子都在这里了，还有没有其他？
我想一想，我还有一个儿子正在外边牧羊啊，他叫大卫啊，叫他回来好不好？
好啊，快叫他过来了。
父亲大人，你这么着急喊我回来，有什么事吗？
这个撒母医生是想见你一面啊。
啊，你看这个，他的双目清秀，容貌俊美。神说，就是他了，大卫。今天神要告你为以色列王啊！你过来这里，我奉神的名告你为以色列的王。
浑身不爽啊，气短呐，喘不过来气呀，头要炸掉了，谁来帮帮我呀？哎呀，把大卫叫上来给我弹琴。
好，我来了。
哎呀，快一点呀！
我弹一段曲子给你。
快点。
要将荣耀能力归给耶和华，他名所等的地，荣耀归给他。分种族国家，齐声来颂扬。
好了 ，OK 了，大卫你下去吧，等我有事再来找你。
我一定要好好做，将来王一定会重用我的。
报告皇上，大卫真的杀死了非利士人歌利亚。跟以色列众人回来的时间，有很多人都在街上欢呼跳跃，都在说扫罗杀死千千，大卫杀死万万。
什么？大卫杀死万万，扫罗杀死千千？那我就差王位没有给他了。
大王，有人告诉我，大卫躲在隐基底的旷野。
哈哈，天助我也！带上3000人，跟我去把他逮出来。快走啊，不要误事啊！大卫跑了怎么办啊？哎呦，肚子好痛啊！
大王，
拿什么刀？前面有一个洞，我进去大解一下。
好的。
耶和华神已经应许你做王了，现在机会来了，神都把机会给你了，他不仁，你也不义，他现在就在洞里，你去把他杀了吧。去呀，快去，机会了。
因为我的主 乃是耶和华的受膏者。我在耶和华面前万不敢伸手害他，因他是耶和华的受膏者。
给他们一个掌声。
Let's give a big hand to them.
我们的利未剧团是很优秀，
So isn't our Levi's drama team excellent?
他们的演出把我今天要讲的经文都讲完了。
So the performance just pretty much sums up my sermon today.
所以我们再一次给耶稣一个掌声。
Give a big hand to Jesus.
今天提到顺服与领受，
So today we are talking about submission and inspiration.
到底哪样先行呢？
It's more important.
哪样先行呢？
So which one should come first?
顺服神的人，
So those who submit to God,
当他遇到问题，
when they encounter problems,
他会怎么样想？
what are the thoughts?
他心想我的权柄怎么想？
So they will think about what does my authority think?
我权柄的心意是怎么样？
So what is my authority's will?
比如你权柄叫你做一个事，
For example, if your authority asks you to do one thing,
然后你交下去上面的人做，
and then you delegate to the people below you,
上面的人跟你讲，这个事情是不行的，行不通的。
people below you tell you, oh, this is not doable, it can't be done.
那你怎么去解决这个问题？
Then how do you solve this problem?
你是想权柄的，还是想下边的？
Do you think about your authority first, or do you think about the people below you?
当然是想权柄的。
Of course, you should think about your authority.
如果是一个领受的人呢，
So if you're in a position of leadership,
他会想我的领受是什么样？
so if you're the inspirational kind of person, you think about, oh, so what are my inspirations?
我感觉怎么样？
What I feel like at the moment.
如果是顺服的人，
So if you're the submissive type,
很自然想权柄的。
you naturally think about what your authority is.
所以今天我的讲题，
So today, topic of our sermon,
先顺服后领受。
in submission before inspiration.
认清自己的位置。
And you should recognize your position.
我们来读撒母耳记16章1节10到13节，请。
Let's read 1 Samuel chapter 16, verse 1.
撒母耳记上16章1节12到10节到13节，耶和华对撒母耳说：我既厌弃扫罗做以色列的王，你为他悲伤要到几时呢？你将膏油盛满了脚，我差遣你往伯利恒人耶西那里去，因为我在他众子之内预定一个做王的。耶西叫他7个儿子都从撒母耳面前经过。撒母耳说：这都不是耶和华所拣选的。撒母耳对耶西说：你的儿子都在这里吗？他回答说：还有个小的，现在在放羊。撒母耳对耶西说：你打发人去叫他来，他若不来，我们必不坐席。耶西就打发人去叫了他来，他面色光红，双目清秀，容貌俊美。耶和华说：这就是他，你起来膏他。撒母耳就用脚里的膏油在他猪胸中膏了他。从这日起，耶和华的灵就大大感动大卫。撒母耳起身回拉玛去了。
我们来低头祷告。
Pray.
主啊，求你开通我们的耳朵，
Lord, may you open our ears.
让我们明白怎么跟随你，
Help us understand how we should follow you.
明白你的心意。
Understand your will.
祷告奉耶稣的名
In Jesus' name we pray.
，Amen。
Amen.
好，第一段有顺服有领受。
So the first paragraph, submission with inspiration.
有顺服有领受是很重要的。
It is important to have both submission and inspiration.
那什么叫顺服？
So what do we mean by submission?
顺服就是顺服权柄。
Submission means to submit to your authority.
为什么老是顺服权柄，不是权柄跟我的想法去做？
So why do we keep talking about we need to submit to your authority, but not the other way around?
顺服权柄是很重要的。
Submitting to your authority is very important.
我们来读彼得前书2章13、14节。
Let's read 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 13.
你们为主的缘故，要顺服人的一切制度，或是在上的君王，或是君王所派罚恶赏善的承载。
顺服是主吩咐我们的。
So to submit is actually the Lord's command.
我们顺服是为耶稣的缘故
，and we do it for the sake of the Lord.
顺服神一切的制度。
So we should obey the system of men.
耶稣就是我们的榜样。
So Jesus has set a good example for us.
他顺服甚至于死。
He submitted to the point of death.
所以我们面对弯曲的权柄。
So even when we face a twisted authority,
我们仍然顺服。
We should keep on obeying.
第一段有2个小点。
So the first point, there are 2 subpoints.
第一个小点有顺服。
So the first one is where there is submission.
大卫听父亲的吩咐。
And you should listen to your father.
大卫是一个很顺服的人。
So David was a submissive person.
他听爸爸的话。
He obeyed his father.
他爸爸有8个儿子。
And his father had 8 sons.
3个儿子当兵。
3 of whom were soldiers.
他最小。
And David was the youngest.
有一天，以色列的大先知去他的家。
So one day, the great prophet of Israel visited their home.
所有人都在家里面有那个宴席。
So everyone was there and had a banquet.
只有大卫没有通知。
Except for David, he wasn't notified or invited.
爸爸没叫他，他就不敢来了。
So his father didn't invite him. He didn't dare coming.
有一次，他爸爸叫他拿这个饼去建墙去看哥哥。
And one time, his father asked David to bring 3 pieces, to bring some bread to his 3 older brothers.
大卫一声都没有说就去了。
And David didn't grumble at all and just went.
当他去看到哥哥的时候，
and when he saw his 3 older brothers,
哥哥很生气骂他。
And his 3 older brothers were angry with him.
你干嘛来这里？
And they said, why did you come for?
我知道你是来看热闹的。
I know you're just here to watch the fun.
他有一个对他不好的哥哥。
So he had older brothers that didn't treat him well.
一个不理他的爸爸。
And a father who didn't take care of him.
爸爸叫他去放羊，没有叫他回来，他就继续去放羊。
So when his father asked him to tend the sheep, so he went ahead and didn't come back until told to do so.
所以自己来了，他要自己去面对事情。
So even when the lion came, he had to face the lion himself.
自己处理问题。
And he had to solve the problems himself.
爸爸不理他。
His father didn't care about him.
哥哥骂他。
And his older brothers were aggressive or would curse him.
他仍然顺服。
Still he submitted.
第二点，有领受，成为君王。
So the second point is where there is inspiration to become king.
刚才读一个经文就知道。
So in the passage that we just read,
大卫有领受。
David had inspiration.
神对他说：“我要兴起你做以色列的王。”
God told him, "I will raise you up to become king of Israel."
并且有3个印证。
And there were 3 confirmations.
第一是从神来的。
So the first one came from God.
撒母耳先知去对他说话。
So the prophet of Samuel spoke to him.
第二，撒母耳膏立他为王。
And the second is prophet Samuel anointed him with oil.
第三，圣灵就带他浇灌下来。
And the third is the Holy Spirit filled him greatly.
神都希望我们每一个人有领受，有顺服。
So God wants us to have both submission and inspiration.
如果一个人没有领受，
So for someone who doesn't have inspiration,
你的生命就没有方向，没有目标。
Your life will become without direction or goals.
尤其在职场的弟兄姐妹
especially for those in the workplace,
要有领受。
You need to have inspiration.
你知道自己做什么
You need to know what you're doing.
你就有方向。
And then you will have a direction.
比如做父母的
For example, as parents,
你要去寻求神，我怎么教我的小孩？
You need to seek God as to how you should raise your children.
要有从神来的领受，
So you need to have inspiration that comes from God.
用属天的智慧来教你的孩子。
And you should teach your children with heavenly wisdom.
我记得我女儿读书的时候，
I remember when my daughter was studying school,
我领受她要在社会里面主持公正公。
so I received that she would administer justice in the society.
有一天，她哭着对我说，
And then one day,
哭着对我说，
and then she was in tears and told me,
我是选错那个科来读了，我成绩不好，我不读了，是不是？
I chose the wrong subject. My grades are not good. Should I change to another subject?
我是不会的。
I said no.
是神拣选你的。
God has chosen you.
从头再用心去读。
So just do your best.
我就为他祷告，一直在支持他、鼓励他。
And I prayed for her, supported her.
今天我女儿就是这已经走上神给她的命定。
And then my daughter is now walking in a destiny that God has for her.
小组长要有命定，知道你的领受。
As cell leaders, you also need to know your inspiration.
否则你不晓得带你的小羊去哪里。
Otherwise, you wouldn't know where you're leading your sheep to.
所以领受与顺服是非常重要的。
So both submission and inspiration are very important.
我们教会的小孩起初只有3个人。
So for the children at our church, at first we only have 3.
我们就领受有儿童教会啊。
And when we receive that, we need to build up our children church.
现在我们有2班的儿童班。
Now we have 2 classes of children.
所以上一周我们就开那个儿童道士的训练班。
So last week we held a training for the children church teachers.
我们就走在领受与那个顺服当中。
So we are walking in the path of submission and inspiration.
我们不但要顺服有领受，
And not only do we need submission and inspiration,
更重要是先顺服后领受。
more importantly, we need to put submission before inspiration.
我们来看第二点。
So moving on to the second point.
第二大点是先顺服后领受。
So the second main point is submission before inspiration.
第一个小点，不顺服但领受讨神厌。
And the first point is, if you choose not to submit and you only receive inspiration, you will be detested by God.
我知道要顺服很难的。
I know that it is very hard to submit.
我甚至听到有人说
And I even heard people say,
他这样的权柄
for such an authority like them,
你叫我去顺服他
and you tell me to submit to them,
很难的。
it's very difficult.
原来他好，权柄好，你才顺服他，叫佩服。
So if you admire your authority because they're good, that is called admiration.
不是顺服。
That is not submission.
权柄不好，你还继续去听他话，才是顺服。
And if your authority is not good, but still you choose to submit to them, that is called submission.
所以只有领受不顺服的人，
So for those who only receive inspiration without submission,
讨神厌，
they will be detested by God.
扫罗是个好的例子。
So Saul is a very good example.
扫罗有王的领受，
So Saul also had the inspiration to become king.
你回去看经文就知道了。
So if you go back to the passage, you know.
扫罗同样有3个领受，
Saul also had 3 confirmations,
3个印记，
3 assurances.
神亲自的呼叫他，
So the first one is God called him by name,
呼叫他为王。
called him by name to be king.
2，先知撒母耳去找他，高立他。
Secondly, the prophet Samuel found him and anointed him with olive oil.
而且圣灵大大的充满他，
And also the Holy Spirit filled him greatly.
甚至他可以跟先知一起说预言的。
And he could also prophesy like a prophet.
第二小点，扫罗王不顺服。
The second subpoint is King Saul did not submit.
大卫跟扫罗在各方面都很相似。
So King David and King Saul are very similar in many ways.
不同的是大卫顺服，
The difference is David chose to submit,
扫罗不顺服。
and Saul did not submit.
扫罗有2次的不顺服，
And there were 2 instances which showed that Saul did not submit.
第一次不顺服，因为他惧怕。
The first one is out of fear.
他面对非利士人的时候，
When he had to face the Philistines,
撒母耳说：“你等7天，等我来跟你献祭。”
Then Samuel asked Saul to wait for him for 7 days.
然后我就跟你讲，你该如何去面对敌人。
And then you should then make a offer a sacrifice, and I'll tell you how you can face your enemies.
所以等了7天啊，
So Saul waited for 7 days.
看到敌人好像鱼海沙一样这么多，
And he saw the enemies were so numerous.
他就很害怕，
He was petrified,
已经等不了了，
and he couldn't wait any longer
因为敌人有海沙这么多，
because his enemies were numerous.
他急不及待就自己献祭。
So he couldn't wait any longer, and he decided to offer a sacrifice.
在旧约时代，献祭是祭司才做的。
So in the Old Testament, only priests could offer sacrifices.
扫罗越过他的位分，
So Saul actually went beyond his role.
当他献完祭的时候，
And after he's finished offering the sacrifice,
撒母耳就出现了，
then Samuel appeared before him.
他越过那个权柄，
So Saul actually went beyond his authority.
所以撒母耳说，你的皇位不会长久。
So Samuel told him, so your kingdom or your throne will not last long.
第二个不顺服，
And the second disobedience,
贪婪。
it was out of greed.
当神叫他去跟亚玛力人打仗的时候，
So when God told Saul to fight the Amorites,
吩咐他说，
and told him,
所有的亚玛力人把他杀掉，
so all the Amorites you are to destroy,
所有牛羊都杀掉。
and all the livestock you should also destroy.
所以看到一个亚玛力王生得很俊美，
So Saul saw that the king of Amorites was very handsome.
不舍得把他杀掉。
So he didn't want to kill him.
还有那个上好的牛羊很好，也不舍得把他杀掉。
And also he didn't want to kill the better livestock.
所以他没有顺服。
So he didn't submit.
当撒母耳跟他说话的时候，
So when Samuel spoke to him,
说你不顺服，你这样做大概得罪神的时候，
so he said that you did not submit to God and you have sinned against God.
他知道错了，
And Saul knew that he did wrong,
但他没有悔改，
but he didn't repent.
还拉着撒母耳的衣服说：“请你跟我去那个百姓面前，祝福我吧。”
So he was clinging onto Samuel by the robe and said, "Oh, please come with me and bless me."
撒母耳就走，
So Samuel left,
衣服把它切到两段。
and the robe came apart in 2 pieces.
撒母耳说
And Samuel said,
你的国
"Your kingdom,
就好像那个衣服一样，
just like the robe,
完全的断开。
it will be broken off."
所以当你读到撒母耳记31章的时候，
So when you get to Samuel chapter 31,
他和3个儿子，
he and his 3 sons,
还有他所有的跟他去打仗的人，
and all the ones who followed him to the battlefield,
都死在剑场上。
they all died on the battlefield.
这就是不顺服神的人的下场。
So that is the consequence of those who do not submit to God.
来看看大卫，第2小点，
And let us look at David.
先顺服讨神悦。
So if you put submission first, it will be pleasing to God.
当你面对顺服与领受的时候，
So when you have to face submission and inspiration,
神要我们学顺服。
so if you have to choose one, God wants you to choose submission.
我们在撒母耳记26章7到11节就可以看到，
So we can see from 1 Samuel chapter 26 verses 7 to 11,
看到大卫做以色列王，
we can see that David became the king of Israel.
就在前面的扫罗王，
So his predecessor, King Saul,
不是被神讨厌，
but because he did not submit to God, he was detested by God.
扫罗听到妇女唱千千万万之歌，
And Saul heard the women singing the killing thousands and tens of thousands song.
他就非常的生气，
He was furious,
就要追杀大卫。
so he wanted to pursue David.
大卫只有逃避，
And David had to run.
但是逃避的时候，他有2次机会可以把扫罗王杀掉的。
So while David was on the run, he had 2 chances where he could kill Saul.
扫罗去追杀大卫的时候，
So when Saul was pursuing David,
途中他肚子 肚子痛。
On the way, he had a stomach upset.
他躲就去找一个山洞去躲去代解。
So he just went into a cave to relieve himself.
是巧，就是大卫就躲在那个山洞里面的。
And it just so happened that David was also hiding in that cave.
这是个好机会。
It was a great opportunity.
大卫就可以去杀扫罗了。
David could have killed Saul.
但是大卫是从神的角度来想。
But David was thinking from God's perspective.
他说这是神所安立的受膏者。
He thought this is the anointed one of God.
我不能下手去杀他。
I can't kill him.
我顺服神。
So I need to submit to God.
第二次
and the second opportunity,
他扫罗在一个营里面睡觉。
So Saul was lying in the camp.
所有士兵都要睡着。
And all the other soldiers were all resting in the camp.
大卫就偷偷进到营里面。
So David just snuck into the camp.
那要杀那个扫罗是轻而易举。
And if he wanted to kill Saul, it was a very easy job done.
结果他把审判的权交还给神。
However, he chose to give the right of judgment back to God.
因为他知道自己是不是做第二任的君王，全在神的手里面。
Because he knew that whether he can be the second king of Israel, it was entirely up to God.
弟兄姐妹
So brothers and sisters,
即使你面对歪曲的权柄
so even you are in the face of a twisted authority,
不容易相处的权柄
or an authority who's not easy to get along with,
他能力比你低的权柄
or they are less capable than yourself,
你仍然顺服
you should still choose to submit.
你就像大卫一样
Then you'll be like David.
讨神喜悦
You'll be pleasing to God.
好，第三个小点
The third subpoint.
先顺服后领受不越会
So put submission before inspiration with boundaries.
有顺服有领受不越会是很重要的。
So putting submission before inspiration while keeping your boundaries.
我分了三个小点。
So there are 3 subpoints.
怎么可以不越位呢？
How can you still keep your boundaries?
一，顺服是责任。
Firstly, submission is a responsibility.
是你对权柄者的责任。
So that is your responsibility towards your authority.
领受是从神来的。
Inspiration comes from God.
我们要希望明白神的心意。
If you wish to understand the heart of God,
明白神在我们生命中全新的启示
and understand a whole new revelation in our life He has for us,
我们就要做一个有责任的人。
So we need to be someone who is responsible.
如果你是一个又顺服又有责任的人，
So if you're someone who is both submissive and responsible,
神就会把更深的启示向你显明。
so God will give you a deeper revelation.
顺服就是做我们该做的事。
So submission means to do what you should do.
领受的
So for inspiration,
做你可以做的事。
is you will do what you can do.
顺服是信心，
So submission is out of faith,
领受方法。
and inspiration is talking about methods.
第二个小点，
Second subpoint,
顺服是神的命令。
submission is God's command.
不顺服的人，
So those who do not submit,
既找审判，
they are actually self-inflicting judgment on themselves.
因为领受需要有认证，
Because inspirations require confirmation.
领受有时候会错的。
Because sometimes we will mistakenly receive inspiration.
当你顺服就可以脚踏实地。
But if you choose to submit, you will be someone who's down to earth.
领受的人容易在空中飞来飞去。
So the inspiration type of people, they will tend to be like flying off the ground, being unrealistic.
如果光有领受没顺服，
and if you only have inspiration without submission,
你走在分辨善恶树上面，
then you will be walking on the path of the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
比如教会的先知，
For example, in a church, like a prophet,
跟牧师关系，
like a relationship between the prophet and the senior pastor.
他跟牧师说：“你的领受是错的，我才对。”
And the prophet would tell the pastor, "Your this is wrong. Is not the same as what I've received."
这个很自然，你就站在分别善恶树上边。
So quite naturally, you'll be standing in the path of the knowledge of a tree of knowledge of good and evil.
当我们先顺服后领受，
So if you choose to put submission before inspiration,
你就走在生命树的路上。
then you'll be walking the path of the tree of life.
就好像大卫一样
just like David.
纵使扫罗一直追杀他，
Even though Saul continued to pursue him,
最终是大卫要是神所选的，神选他做王的。
in the end, David was the chosen one by God,
他依靠神，
and he trusted in God.
我们顺服的时候，
So as we choose to submit to God,
神会借着权柄成就在我们身上的计划。
so God will fulfill his plan for our life through our authorities.
不要急，
So don't be hasty,
只要等，
just keep waiting.
权柄要你做的，
So whatever your authority wants you to do,
你只管去做。
just do it.
时候到了，神把你提升。
And when the time comes, God will elevate you.
第三个小点，
The third subpoint,
知道你的位置。
to know your position.
很多人觉得先顺服后领受是很难的，
So many people think that it is very hard to put submission before inspiration.
但当你清楚自己的位置的时候，
But when you recognize your position,
变得容易。
it becomes easy.
做女儿的，
As daughters,
你的领受不能超越父母；
your inspiration cannot exceed your parents.
做妻子的，
And as wives,
你的领受不能越过你的老公；
you cannot let your inspiration exceed your husband.
做主人的，
And as cell members,
做主人的不能越过你的小组长；
and as cell members, you should not exceed your cell leader.
做弟兄姐妹的，
And as brothers and sisters,
你的领受不能越过牧者。
and your inspiration cannot go before your pastor.
每个人站在自己的位置上面，
So everyone stand in your own position
好好把你的角色演好，
and just do well in your role.
顺服就容易了。
Then submission just becomes easy.
喜悦611
Just like Favor 611 Church,
有领受而诞生的。
it has been birthed because we had inspiration.
国际牧师师母是的签证还在申请当中。
So we are still waiting for the visa for Pastor Poon and Dilly Simo.
Joe 跟 Stella 就是我们教会的传弟，
So Joe and Stella are our authority.
就代表牧师师母执行一切日常的工作。
So on behalf of Pastor Poon and Dilly Simo, they have the daily operation.
他们就是我们的传弟。
So they are our authorities.
你承认也好，
So whether you recognize it
你不承认也好，
or not,
我跟你说，他就是传弟。
I'm telling you they are our authority.
他们的权柄是直接从母堂张牧师差派他们的，
And their authority comes directly from the main church by commission.
所以我们即使有领受，
So even when we have inspiration,
我将来会做什么什么什么样，
you might think about, oh, I will be doing this and that in the future.
学习等待，
Learn to wait.
不要急，
Don't be hasty.
只管等。
Just wait.
权柄要你做的，
So whatever your authority wants you to do,
好好去做。
do it.
时候到了，
So when the time comes,
神把你带到命定里面，
God will lead you into his destiny.
你顺服，
If you submit,
神知道，
God will know.
神会喜悦。
It will be pleasing to him.
相反，你不顺服，
In contrast, if you do not submit,
神知道，
God also knows.
神讨厌。
And it will be detested by him.
所以祝福我们每一个弟兄姐妹
So，I bless each brother and sister here.
都是有顺服有领受的人，
You're a person with both submission and inspiration.
知道自己的位分，
You recognize your position.
不越过这个位置，
And do not exceed your position.
成为神所喜悦的
You
人。
become someone who is pleasing to God.
我们一起来敬拜我们的
And
神。
let us worship.
好，弟兄姐妹，你们都平安。今天呢，我们听到Winnie 传道他讲的那个先顺服后领受，只是神看我们的，就是看我们的心，看我们心怎么样去顺服他。有时候我们常常就是我觉得我的领袖不行，我觉得我比我的领袖强，比他更棒。好多时候在这个情况的里面，常常我们会走在领受者之前，常常心里面在想等我来吧，我可以处理这些事情。只是神在这一刻的里面，就是看我们的心，他看我们是顺服他，是顺服，是相信他吗？如果我们的心相信神的话，神就会出手，不用我们自己来出手。所以神是看我们的每一个人的心， 在我们的当中，可能神会有很多时候，就看我们的心怎么样处理我们心里面的那个顺服两个字。在当中，可能有很多时候，我们看我们的权柄都不顺眼，可能我们觉得我们自己比权柄更强，但是神跟我们说，在今天的早上跟我们说，你顺服我吗？你能顺服我吗？神就是这样的问我们每一个人。亲爱的弟兄姐妹，我们就把我们的信心，把我们的顺服放在神的面前，让神来完成所有的旨意。当神来完整他的旨意的时候，我们就尽力，我们就能够看见神的手是何等的奇妙。好多时候人出手就是血气，就是带着血气，这一切都不是讨神的喜悦。但是我们今天顺服圣灵的带领，在我们的生命的当中，我们相信神，相信神为我们成就大事。我们不用自己的血气，我们不用自己的本领，我们的本事，乃是相信神。亲爱的主耶稣，主啊，求你带领着我们每个弟兄姐妹。如果当中我们弟兄姐妹，你曾经对你的权柄，或者你的上司，或者你的父母亲，或者你的小组长，你对他们有异议的，有很多不满的，你曾经在他的背后讲过他的，你曾经没有顺服他们的，今天在这一刻的里面，我们一起来跟神，我们一起来跟神来认罪，求神把我们过去的不顺服来原谅我们，求神来饶恕我们的不顺服。我们一起来开声的把事情都交托给神。亲爱的主耶稣，在这一刻的里面，你进到我们每一个弟兄姐妹的心。主啊，我们曾经对我们的权柄有很多的不顺服，有很多的看不过眼。但是主耶稣，今天我们顺服你，我们相信你。主啊，我们把我们的主权都交托还给主耶稣你自己。主啊，当我们眼睛看不过眼的时候，主啊，你来帮助我们。主啊，当我们的心听不进去，不能再顺服的时候，不行的时候，主耶稣，你来帮助我们。主啊，你看见有很多的不公平，可能权柄做错了，但是主耶稣，让我们仍然的相信主耶稣你就成就大事，相信主耶稣你就是一个公义的神。主啊，你在我们心里面帮助我们。主啊，你看见今天我们弟兄姐妹来到你的面前，愿意把过去的不顺服都完完全全的认罪，完完全全的重新的把他们的心交托在主耶稣你的手上。主啊，你来洗净我们每一个人过去的不顺服，你来洗净我们过去一切不顺服的罪。主啊，你来饶恕我们。主啊，你在我们心里面再一次的帮助我们，让我们可以经历主耶稣你的成就。 你的拯救，你的洗净。主啊，你的饶恕在这一刻的里面，放在我们每一个弟兄姐妹的心里面。主啊，让我们知道，从今天开始，我们有神，我们有信心在主耶稣里面，我们相信圣灵你的带领，我们相信你主耶稣，你每一句话都放在我们的心里面，都放在我们灵里面的耳朵，让我们听见顺服主耶稣你的带领。主耶稣，你来祝福我们每一个弟兄姐妹。主啊，祝福我们中间每一个弟兄姐妹，他们都有一个聆听的耳朵，来听从神你的话语。主啊，你又赐福给我们每一个弟兄姐妹，让他们的心都能够相信顺服主耶稣你的权柄。主啊，你来带领我们，你来带领我们教会，你来带领喜悦611在澳洲这个地方。主耶稣，你设立每一个权柄在我们的弟兄姐妹的身上。主耶稣，也让我们每一个弟兄姐妹都能够有顺服在他们的心里面。主啊，你是看我们的心，主啊，你是看人的心。主啊，当我们顺服，真正的顺服的时候，主啊，我们就可以懂得怎么样把我们的权柄来交托在主耶稣你的手上。也求你真的赐给我们有一个为权柄来祷告的心。主啊，让我们当我们眼看不顺眼，耳朵听不进去的时候，心里面不能接受的时候，主耶稣你来帮助我们。主啊，不要让我们行在那个罪恶当中，乃是让我们的心切切的为我们的权柄来祷告。主耶稣，求你帮助我们，祝福我们当中每一个弟兄姐妹，他们的心他们的耳朵都倚靠主耶稣，都能够听见主耶稣你的话语，都顺着圣灵的带领，都能够在主耶稣里面顺服主耶稣你自己。主啊，求你祝福我们每一个弟兄姐妹，让他们真的丰盛的，当他们行在顺服的当中，他们就走在丰盛的道路，顺利的道路。主啊，你祝福我们每一个弟兄姐妹，在主耶稣里面满有顺服的心，满有信心，在主耶稣里面得着主耶稣你的祝福，得着主耶稣你的丰盛，得着主耶稣你的带领。听我们祷告，奉主耶稣的名求，阿们。好，谢谢大家。好，那我们时间就交给